So lately I've been in my music discovery era. I've gotten into Radiohead, Charlie XCX, and Clairo, just to name a few. And the way I go about getting into these artists is by listening to their most popular, highly regarded album. Whatever album that is, I'll give it a few listens and base my opinion of them off of that album. So for these artists, I've been listening to OK Computer, Charm, and Brat. This is how I listen to music in general, through albums. Sure, I'll make a playlist here and there, and they do have their uses, but if I'm just listening to music by myself, I'll usually always choose to listen to an album over a playlist. But I've always known that most people like listening to playlists over albums, but I never knew how much of a margin that was by. So to find out, I conducted an experiment on my Snapchat story, which was a poll, which I also posted to my college Snapchat story to maximize the amount of people who saw it and the data I could collect. There were 440 people who participated in this poll, so this wasn't a small sample size by any means. But it's important to note that most of the people who voted were between 18 and 20 years old, so these results could be very different for different age groups. There were 367 votes for playlists and 73 votes for albums, which means that 83% of people listen to playlists more, while just 17% of people listen to albums more. Like I said, I knew that more people listened to playlists than they did albums, but the difference being this large was kind of crazy to me. There's a lot of reasons for this though, why playlists are people's go-to. The first being that playlists are what platforms like Spotify actively encourage you to listen to and push onto you with their made-for-you playlists and artist radios and new releases and whatnot. Playlists are easy to listen to and throw on in the background to listen to passively. They're also great for creating an action-packed queue with no skips. Really, what makes playlists great is that they can be anything. You can curate them for any mood or situation, and because you can create a playlist for any occasion, they're way more versatile than albums ever could be. A perfect example of when playlists work better than albums is when I had a get-together with all of my friends last summer. I made a playlist with a summery vibe and upbeat songs and different genres that I thought my friends would enjoy, and I had the mood change throughout the day and into the night. So in the beginning it was more upbeat with early Frank Ocean and Zach Bryan, but towards the end it was more mellow with Anderson .Paak and Mac Miller. This seemed to work pretty well. I mean, I think my music taste is great, and a few of my friends said that they liked the songs I was playing as well. Now, if I were to just play a ton of albums, it wouldn't be the same at all, and I would argue that the atmosphere would actually be worse. If you have an album playing in the background and you aren't paying that much attention to it, a lot of the songs can end up sounding the same and blend together, and a lot of albums have songs that are just okay mixed in with its highlights. I don't want to play songs that are just okay with my friends. I want to blow them away with my eclectic music taste. A playlist is more of an explosion of genres and sounds, which works better for this situation. Don't get me wrong, I would love to be able to just throw on albums with people, but as we saw with my poll, most people don't listen to albums that much, so most people aren't going to enjoy listening to the albums that I would throw on. I wish that wasn't the case, because not only would it make the whole thing a hell of a lot easier because I wouldn't have had to take the time to make a playlist, but also because albums are the best way to listen to music in general. Albums are the best that music can offer. Artists are able to create an entire atmosphere from the album cover, to the music videos, to their live performances, to the songs themselves. Albums allow artists to tell intricate stories and create their own universes. Take the concept album, for example. The definition of a concept album is an album whose tracks hold larger purpose or meaning collectively than they do individually. And I think the single best example to show you what a concept album can be is Tyler the Creator's Igor. You've definitely heard tracks off of Igor before. EARFQUAKE, New Magic Wand, Gone Gone Thank You, Are We Still Friends are some of the most popular off the album. These songs are great on their own, but when you listen to them through the album, they tell a completely different story. To show you what you're missing out on by not listening to albums, I'm going to take you through the story of Igor. Igor tells the story of a love triangle between Igor, Tyler's alter ego in this project, but I'm just referring to him as Tyler, Tyler's male love interest, and his crush's female love interest. It starts out with Tyler falling in love with someone who's unavailable and giving him mixed signals, making him feel hopeful, but also unhealthily obsessed as he's trying to win over his crush. As the album goes on, their relationship starts to fall apart, and Tyler sees this and is desperately trying to save it. But there's another piece to the puzzle. Tyler's love interest doesn't want to come out. He's ashamed of being gay, which is why he's shying away from Tyler.
Take your mask off, stop lying for these niggas, stop lying to yourself, I know the real you.
Tyler eventually gets rejected, causing a storm of heartbreak and rage, which leads him to ideate on killing his crush's other love interest, so Tyler could have him all to himself. It's not actually clear if he kills his crush's other love interest, but he eventually accepts the fact that he's not going to be his crush's number one, and that he's just a side piece. Tyler will let his crush treat him however he wants, because to him, something is better than nothing. But because he's heartbroken and hurt and trying to make sense of everything, Tyler is thrown into a fit of rage yet again. He eventually comes out on the other side of his episode, stating that his love is finally gone, and he's thankful for what he had with this man, but this experience has left him wary of loving ever again. And while Tyler says that he doesn't love him, he still can't fully let go, asking, "Are we still friends? Are we still?" The story ends inconclusively. Tyler asks if they're still friends, if they're going to keep in touch, but he doesn't get a response. His crush is still unsure, which leads him right back to where he started. If you play the intro track IGOR'S theme, right after the final track Are We Still Friends, it creates a loop. This cycle of love and heartbreak and acceptance and despair is cyclical. It's never ending. This is the story that Igor presents. Now, I kinda did a thumbnail sketch of this album. The story is a lot deeper than I'm getting into for this video. I'm really not doing it justice at all. If you want a super in-depth analysis of it, I recommend Tennis Tom's video on it. He did an amazing job breaking down the entire album. But don't watch that one until you finish this video. I want my ad revenue too. Like I said, Earthquake and New Magic Wand and Are We Still Friends are great songs. But if you listen to them in isolation, you'll miss the entire story of Igor, and you only get a tiny snapshot of the full picture. Are We Still Friends by itself is just another ballad, but in the album, it's the end of Tyler's journey through limerence and despair. And this is the same for so many songs. You can listen to Kendrick Lamar's Alright and King Kunta by themselves and have a fun time, but you'll miss out on the entire messaging of To Pimp a Butterfly. You can listen to Frank Ocean's Pink and White and Ivy by themselves and enjoy them, but you'll miss the whole story of Blonde. There's entire worlds that you're missing out on by not listening to the album and just passively listening to a playlist. Of course, not all albums are concept albums, and most albums actually aren't considered to be concept albums, but the same concept applies. Every album has overarching themes and messaging that you can't fully appreciate if you only listen to its best moments. Playlists are a highlight reel, which ultimately erase the atmosphere and world an album creates. The ability to create an entire story and universe within one project is what separates the album from everything else. It's its defining characteristic. Sure, a lot of albums have their lows. I'd be a fool to say that every album is perfect, but when you have a song that's just alright, sandwiched in between a few great songs, it can really change your perspective on that song. Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale in The Big Steppers is a great example of this. I'm never going to throw on Mother I Sober, a song about how Kendrick's cousin was accused of SAing him casually, but I can appreciate the song because it's in between the more upbeat songs of the album. There's been so many songs that I didn't like on first listen, but they ended up growing on me, not only because I'm listening to them a lot through the album, but also because the context of the entire album makes that song better. That's not to say that all albums don't have skips though. I like Baby Keem's Melodic Blue, but I'll be damned if you ever catch me listening to South Africa.
catch a flight out the blue, South Africa.
God, that song is so bad. It's also not like all albums have this cohesive vision. Take most of Drake's albums, which are kinda like a mixtape, a random collection of songs. That's why I don't like many of Drake's albums. He doesn't create albums with the same vision that other artists do. Albums are just like anything else. There's a lot of really good ones and there's a lot of really bad ones. But the really good albums outshine any really great playlist that you could ever make. Something I don't know is the proportion of people who listen to playlists that they've created themselves versus those who listen to the auto-generated ones like Spotify's daily mixes. I'd like to think that most people listen to playlists that they curate themselves, but I'm not too sure. What I do know is that Spotify has such a bad playlist generation algorithm, it's honestly impressive. The daily mix is all songs I've already heard a million times, with a few different songs in there that most of the time I've already heard once or twice. If you want to watch a great video about the state of playlists and music algorithms, I recommend this video by Liam Anthony. It's a great watch. A main takeaway from Liam's video is that playlists are made for the general consumer of music, not for you or me. Most people aren't actively seeking out new music and expecting to find new stuff in these playlists like I am. Most people just want to listen to something that's easily digestible. And that's really the crux of it all, isn't it? The reason why people choose playlists over albums is because they're just easier to listen to. Yes, I do think that Spotify, being the largest music platform in the world, should have a way better algorithm than it has, especially with how much they're pushing these playlists onto you. But I can also recognize that these playlists aren't made for me. They're for the general consumer. They're for your mom and dad who just want a mix of their favorite artists and don't care to make a playlist themselves. But even though I can recognize that, I'll still bitch about Spotify's horrible algorithm. Something I've been thinking about lately is how everyone looks at and interprets the world completely differently. There's no greater example of this than with politics. You can take anything, like the presidential debate for example, and have people coming away with completely different opinions on the exact same thing, which was either people thinking Kamala destroyed Trump, or that Trump destroyed Kamala. He didn't, by the way. But this idea of how everything is shaped by our own perception is just so interesting to me. The way that you and I perceive music is probably very different. When I listen to music, I listen to the sound and vibe of a song first, and the lyrics and meaning after, as a secondary thing. But there's a lot of people who hear the lyrics and meaning first and the sound of it after. Neither is right or wrong, it's just how we personally digest all the different sounds flooding our ears. I can preach all day about why albums are better than playlists, but ultimately, there is no wrong way to listen to music. It's art, and you can enjoy it and listen to it in any way that you want to. I prefer to listen to albums, but that doesn't mean you're wrong for listening to music through playlists. I do urge you to try listening to albums because there's a lot you're missing out on, but you have the agency to listen to music however you want to. Just, if you are listening to playlists, can you stop skipping songs halfway through? I swear, every time someone else has the aux, they listen to half a song, if even that, before moving on to the next, which is just so annoying to me. Just let the damn song play. Okay, that's all I've got for this video. I hadn't posted in a few months because I was super busy with school, but as always, let me know if you liked this video, because I'm still trying to figure out what the hell I want to make on here. Okay, smash subscribe, smash like, bye!